President William Samoei Ruto, I hope this reaches you well. Allow me to speak and speak to the loudest while the echoes of wonders and the voice of victims of Wagalla Massacre are still in air. I know you are not among the people who are behind the massacre, but today the responsibility of finding justice for those victims of Wagalla lies under your shoulders. The fateful day, 10th February 1984, over 5 days, government forces killed over 5,000 innocent Kenyans in Wagalla town. The killings, torturings, and atrocities committed by the Kenya police from 10th February to 14th February 1984 is still fresh and remains a wound in the bodies, hearts, and the minds of Wajir people. These are not just words, but the names of the people massacred in those days. How can we be able to keep quiet as a journalist when the mother in Bulajawo is still not healed from the rapings that was done to her by the Kenyan soldiers? How can the people of Wajir forget the murderings when some of their fathers were denied access to food and water for 4 days and night, and worst of all, some of them were burnt alive? It is hard to forget things. Survivor stories are almost unbelievable. If any one of you just heard the Wagalla Massacre, this is how it all started. The Wagalla Massacre began to disarm the ethnic Dogodia clan after some clan-related conflict in the region of Kenya, Somalis. On early February 1984, troops burst into homes, raping women, destroying properties, and seizing men. The Dogodia men and anyone else unlucky enough to be caught up in the search were taken to the airstrip. When the army surrounded Bulajawo, they ordered the residents to vacate their homes. The residents refused to comply with the order, so the military forcefully removed the male members of the Dogodia clan from their homes and took them to the Wagalla airstrip, 9 miles away west of Wajir. The men rounded up were subjected to torture to force them on a rifle. Some died of the torture, and those who got to the airstrip were sorted by subclan, and up to 30 members of the Jibrail subclan were burnt alive in an agony of unpredicted violence. Their clothes were piled on top of them, and petrol or some other highly flammable chemical was poured on their clothes, and a bonfire whose fuel was human flesh was lit. The other detainees watched as their colleagues were roasted alive. The rest of the men were forced to strip naked and told to squat in the hot sun, and at night they were forced to remove their clothes with all the cold, and those who resisted were shot dead. The detainees were denied food and water, and that during this time, those who tried to pray were shot. In those days, more than 1,000 people either starved to death or were shot for questioning the orders of the armed forces, and many eyewitnesses claim that roughly 5,000 people were killed across. This incredibly brave woman is Abdia Warmoge. Abdia was not born discovered. The lifetime scars that was inflicted on the first 3 days of the Hara was inflicted on her community. At that time, a group of heavily armed men kicked in her door, ransacked the little money she had, and luckily, one of the men was left behind to rape her. She resisted. She tried to bite the man trying to rape her. He turned violence. He swung his rifle butt so hard at her that all her front teeth were knocked out. The man's next swing hit so hard on her temple that her right eye popped out. The physical scars nearly took her life, but eventually healed. Not so much for emotional and physiological scars, and the tragedy remains 39 years later. Abdia hailed from the Dogodia clan, the unfortunate victims in the infamous Wagalla Massacre. The men behind the torture were government forces, the police. on who is to be blamed for the massacre, join me in the next part of the blood in the desert and the shadows of injustice of Wagalla.